Welcome to the Super Show, everybody, right here on the 11th Hour Gaming channel. If you're a first-time viewer, there's really nothing that super about this show. This is the normal weekly show I do here on the channel. By the way, my name is AJ Gels. This is the 11th Hour Gaming channel. I do this every week. I bring video game news that I find around the web. This week was IGN, just because I was too lazy to use Twitter to find other stories. I used my IGN app, and that's what we used. That's what I use this week. So the only reason I'm calling this my super show is because there's so many, because I have a good amount of topics, and this is the first time in a long time that I really have this much stuff to cover in one show. So I don't think I really have any announcements other than thank you for tuning in. And usually I try to get the show up by noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Not happening this week because I overslept. Yes, I understand. It's 4, if you look at the bottom of my screen, it's 4 p.m. I overslept to like 2 in the afternoon. Okay, so moving on. All right, first story off this week is actually something from last week that I totally forgot to talk about. Subscriber Samori Roden sent me and him private message on Twitter. He told me that I forgot to talk about this last week, and that is that the Activision publishing CEO Eric Hirshberg leaving the company after 8 years. Article Alex Gilyadev, once more IGN. The article reads, after 8 years as Activision publishing CEO Eric Hirshberg will depart the company in March, the publisher confirmed to IGN today. An Activision representative provided the following statement to IGN. After serving, and I quote, after serving for 8 years as the CEO of Activision, Eric Hirshberg has decided to leave the company at the conclusion of his contract on March 31st, 2018. Eric has had a great run, has delivered many historic successes, and is departing on a high note after a great year in 2017. As of December 21st, 2017, Call of Duty WW2 and Destiny 2 were the number 1 and number 2 top-selling console games of 2017 in North America, based on revenue. Additionally, Call of Duty was the top video game franchise for the 9th year in a row in North America, and 8th of the last 9 years globally based on revenue. Eric leaves the company in a strong position for growth with the franchise's pipeline of future products and leadership team all in a great place. We are grateful for Eric's strong leadership during his tenure. He is departing with our utmost respect and gratitude for his contributions to the company. Activision Blizzard is actively conducting a search for the next CEO of Activision. And I quote, serving as Activision CEO has been an honor and a thrill, Hirshberg said in a statement. This is an amazing company, one which routinely delivers epic experiences for our fans on a scale that no one else can. I have nothing but admiration for the incredible team I have had the privilege to lead, and I have nothing but appreciation for Bobby for giving me this transformational, goddamn, I can't read, opportunity, and also for having the vision and conviction to champion a creative person for a leadership role on this scale, end quote. Overall, how much more we got? Okay, I'll finish off these paragraphs. In a separate statement, overall, Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick added, and I quote, during Eric's tenure, we've had historic performances and great success. He is an inspiring leader, and we will miss his creativity and tenacity very much. He is leaving the team, the franchises, and the business in a great place, and he goes with my full support and appreciation, end quote. Under Hirshberg, Activision enjoyed a successful 2017 with Call of Duty WW2. We already talked about that stuff. All right. Overall, I don't have much to say about this. Just this is somebody wanted me to bring this up, and I thought I'd bring it up through an article. Overall, I don't think this will change much. I find that with developers and all this, I think this is important stuff to mention because, I mean, these people are, this guy worked at this company for 8 years, and like or hate Activision, Activision is still a big part of the gaming community. I mean, again, Call of Duty and Destiny, even though people still aren't huge fans of what Destiny 2 is doing, but I don't want to say it like that. How to put this? I talk with people, and they aren't. Not going to say they aren't fans of Destiny, but they think that Destiny 2 should be further along than it is. Yet I think it's better than the original Destiny at this point in time. So I'll put it that way, but they think that they still took a step back after the original Destiny, and it's a big thing. I really liked what they did with Call of Duty this year. I really hope that they're going to do it, or I guess last year now, seeing that it's 2018. But I really liked what they did with WW2. I hope they continue on with that trend with whatever they're going to do this year. Again, I feel like with a lot of these positions that when somebody leaves, really, as long as they bring in someone competent, we're really not going to get that much of a different experience, that much of a different, it's really, I don't want to say that the position it really doesn't matter, put whoever you want in, but I think as long as somebody has the talent and the skills to hold the position, we're not going to see a drastic change, if that makes sense. That's just my opinion. Like I said, congratulations to him, and I hope whatever he does next or whatever he moves on to, best of luck with his future endeavors, as the WWE or F would say. All right, moving on into some. We got some release dates for a few different titles. I mean, there was also some other stuff I saw on Twitter today that. Oh crap! Here, I think it's Heroes Legend, something like that. Legend of Heroes Cold Steel 2 is coming to PC soon, or I think it's sometime in February. Sorry, I saw that on Twitter. It just I didn't feel like talking about it this week, but God damn it, I am really all over the place right now. South Park: The Stick of Truth will be available standalone on PS4, Xbox One. Article Alex Gileadev, IGN. Article reads, South Park: The Stick of Truth will soon be available as a standalone purchase for the first time on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, Ubisoft announced. The game previously included as a bonus for those who pre-ordered last year's The Fractured But Whole will cost $30 and launch on February 13th. The Stick of Truth was released back in 2014 for PS3, Xbox 360, and PC. Be sure to read IGN's blah, 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 blah. Stick of Truth, Trey Parker, Matt Stone, making sure I didn't forget anything. Yep, that's about it. Really, again, not much to say about it, and Lady Kenny. But all in all, I really liked The Fractured But Whole. The Stick of Truth is a little different from how I've seen it, how it's played. It doesn't have the... I don't know how to put it. It doesn't have like the whole locational thing that Fractured But Whole had, where your powers mattered on where you were located on the battlefield, or how you move yourself around. This game is more of the Stick of Truth was more of your standard turn-based RPG. It's still South Park. It's still got that sense of humor. It's still Trey Parker and Matt Stone. So I mean, it's really cool. I'm saying I think it was not as good from a gameplay perspective, but granted, I have not played The Stick of Truth. I have seen Let's Plays of it. Rad Brad has a great one. He's a great YouTuber. Definitely go check him out. But again, I'm getting off track here. All in all, February 13th, South Park: The Fractured But Whole. I'm sorry, South Park: The Stick of Truth. There we go. $30, February 13th. All right, moving on. On to another RPG, something that Pillars of Eternity, a game it's still on my Steam wish list that I just have not gotten around to playing, and I know it's on PS4, and I could pick it up there. A really neat RPG that the words done by Obsidian, the people who did Fallout New Vegas, personally one of probably my favorite Fallout. Had a great sense of humor. I really interested to see what they're going to do with Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. Seeing that from what I've seen, it's got a sailing kind of pirate theme, and I like stuff with pirates. All right, let's actually get into this article by Shabana Arif, IGN. Pillars of Eternity 2 has been in development for a couple of years now, but it now officially has a release only a few months away, along with the announcement of several special editions you can pre-order now. Obsidian announced Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire will be released on April 3rd. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is our first sequel here at Obsidian, and we've created something incredible. Obsidian Entertainment CEO Fergus Urquhart said, hopefully that's correct. At Obsidian, and I quote, "At Obsidian, we are all about stories, worlds, and characters, and in Deadfire, we've done it again with a vast open world explorable by the player's own customizable ship, character customization with enough options to make any RPG player want to make 100 characters, and an exciting narrative that truly delivers on the reactivity that makes our game special, unquote, Urquhart said. And I quote, "We're confident that new and returning players will find Deadfire to be the RPG experience of the year," end quote. If you're ready to jump on board, you'll be pleased to know that pre-ordering any of the 3 editions of the game will net you the following in-game items: Saint Droga's skull, crafted from a saber and the skull of a martyr. It will slash and burn enemies in combat, while also guiding players through the darkest reaches of the Deadfire. Beakhead the Hawk in-game pet. Ooh, there's pets? Beakhead the White Hawk took a liking to your ship soon after you arrived in the Deadfire. Captains in the Deadfire are only as effective as their crew, and with this jaunty first mate by your side, you're bound to find success at sea. The Black Flag. This flag is said to have been flown by a mysterious and rowdy band of sea dogs from a far-off land who dyed their sails black with a stain made from ground-up dragon glass. Dark and intimidating, but somehow attractive nonetheless. The standard edition just contains the base game, as you'd expect, for $49.99. The deluxe edition includes the base game and soundtrack, as well as... Excuse me, I'm reading like a speak and spell right now. As well as, and I quote, "an in-game pet, a Deadfire-themed special in-game item, a digital pen and paper RPG starter guide, and a high-resolution game map, and Volume 2 of the digital guidebook, published by Dark Horse," end quote, all for the very reasonable price of $59.99. Yeah, I'd agree with that. For an extra $10, I think that's... Let's see here. And for a special treat, you can fork out $74.99 for the digital Obsidian edition, which includes everything in the deluxe edition, plus the first 3 DLC expansions for the game. The expansions can be purchased separately post-launch for $9.99. So basically you'd be saving for an additional $15 over the... yeah, okay. So basically you're saving yourself $15 if you want all the DLC expansions. The physical Obsidian edition will set you back $79.99 and has the added bonus of a cloth map of the Deadfire region, an explorer's notepad, and a set of postcards that render the Deadfire archipelago in beautiful detail. With only 2 months to go before release, there's plenty of time to pre-order and find a seat on the hype train. I agree with the hype train on this game. I'm always, how to put it, I'm never as skeptical as I should be when it comes to the hype train, because I have been burned a few times. I have been burned plenty of times in the past. Looking at you, Mass Effect Andromeda. But at the same time, there are certain developers that I never question. Naughty Dog, for instance, I'm perfectly happy riding the hype train for... I'm perfectly happy to ride the hype train for... Come on, brain. Last of Us Part 2, I don't know why that was so hard for me to come up with. I'm perfectly happy with riding the hype train for Ghost of Tsushima, for Days Gone. There we go. I keep forgetting that and keep having people tell me what that game's name is. The zombie game being worked on by Santa Monica. I'm perfectly happy riding the hype train. Hell, for Detroit Become Human, I know people weren't a big fan of Beyond Two Souls, but personally, I really like what Quantic Dreams does, and I think personally, I liked Beyond Two Souls. But, excuse me, I've been burned a few times on the hype train, but all in all, I think what Obsidian does, I have a lot of trust in them, and I think they're going to deliver something really special with Pillars of Eternity 2, just like they did with Pillars of Eternity. Alright, moving on. We finally have a release date and a story trailer for God of War. I actually have not taken the time to sit down and watch this, so I'll be giving you my my live reads with this.
Peggy 18.
There we go.
Oh, there do I see my mother. Oh, there do I see my father. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me. Oh, there do they call to me.
That bow's a little big for you, isn't it?
My mother made it for me. Said I'd grow into it.
Find your way home. You are
free.
We're taking our ashes to the highest peak in the realms.
Ashes?
It was our last wish.
Where must we go?
To a realm beyond your own.
There's only one person who can get you where you need to go. They call me Mimir, smartest man alive. First, you need to cut off my head.
Wait, what?
That axe you got. You gotta handle her special.
I know you're a god. Not of this realm, but there's no mistaking it. He doesn't know, does he? About your true nature? Or his own?
The longer you wait, the more damage you do. He will resent you, and you may lose him forever.
You're next! I'll rip your head off!
There are consequences to killing a god!
Why? How do you know? How do you know?
Power of this weapon, any weapon, comes from here. But only when tempered by this. By the discipline, the self-control of the one who wields it. Open the door! We need your help!
This is no ordinary illness. The boy's true nature, your true nature, fights within him.
So I'm a man now. Like you?
No. We are not men. We are more than that. The responsibility is far greater.
Can you kill something that big?
For the players.
All right, speaking of hype train, let's get on it for that. Holy hell, that was awesome. 20/04/18, so April 20th, we get to play God of War. Holy shit. All right, I'm trying to think how to what to say. I have so many thoughts. I'll start with the thing that's really been getting me about this new God of War, the thing that's really been resonating with me, because the earlier God of War games never clicked with me. I've played some of them. I played Ghost of Sparta. I've played the original. I've played parts of 2. I've played, the God of War games every here and there, but all in all, I've never really dove into a God of War game, and I think this will be the first one that really gets me, because I love the tone of this game. It's not the angry hack and slash kind of gameplay, which that was kind of, I don't think, whatever clicked with me. It just, God of War has always just seemed dumb and over the top, and nothing wrong with that. I always enjoy dumb and over the top sort of games, but I don't think God of War, never had the emotional seriousness that it looks like this God of War is going to have. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've misinterpreted the God of War franchise, and maybe somebody's going to tell me that I actually have to go back and play them and really experience the God of War games to understand it, or maybe watch something like this, but I'm really interested to see what it's going to be when Kratos goes to, goes and fights with the Norse gods. I mean, you see him, you heard him there explain that, you don't know what it's, there are consequences to killing a god, because he, killing Ares and becoming the God of War. Yeah, I was thinking that the kid was an adoptive child. Now I believe he's actually Kratos' son. And then you had the woman who died, and they're talking about the ashes. So I'm going to guess the kid is now a demigod of some sort, and talking about the powers of it. There's so much to say here. I really love, but the biggest thing that gets me is the tone of the game itself. Is the very serious emotional vibe that that's giving me. That we're going to. That we get to experience a new Kratos, if that makes sense. Because if you see this, it's Kratos. He's older, but he's much more tempered It's the when he says what was the line? It was the power of the weapon comes from here, points to the heart, but tempered up here to the mind. That's something totally different from the Blades of Chaos Kratos that we had in the first couple games. So I cannot wait to see what this God of War does, and I cannot wait for April to get my hands on this. I've seen some of the combat. The combat looks really good to me. Personally, it reminds me of what Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice did. It seems a little slower, a little bit more, not hack and slash, but still action oriented. I'm really interested to get my hands on this game when we get a chance to. So, all right, moving on from God of War stuff. Hopefully, I can be a little bit more concise with this block of articles. I took a small break. All right, moving on. Ghost Recon Wildlands' new battle crate system aims to avoid loot box pitfalls. Article Shabana Arif, IGN. The article reads, in the midst of the ongoing loot box controversy, Ubisoft has waded in and rolled out paid-for loot boxes in Ghost Recon Wildlands. Before we get too worked up, it's worth noting that the items inside them have no effect on gameplay stats and are cosmetic items for character customization. Few. The Ubisoft blog explains that the new battle crates available in Extended Ops Update today will be divided into loot boxes for the campaign and co-op mode, Spec Ops crates, and boxes for the Ghost War mode, Ghost War crates. All crate types will. God, I can't read today. All crate types will, and I quote, have zero impact on gameplay and players' progression, and will be fair in terms of the items given to players. Inside Spec Ops crates, you'll find epic and exotic weapons along with cosmetic items. The Ghost War crates contain exotic weapons, which are reskinned versions of weapons already in the game with no difference to stats, exclusive new character skins called icons, and other customization items. It gets better with confirmation that there are no duplicates in crate types. You'll only ever get items that you don't already own. All Ghost Recon Wildlands players will be gifted a Spec Ops and Ghost War crate once they're available. Redeem on the Ubisoft Club. After that, you can get them in-store, where they'll set you back 400 credits. All right, well, let me start off with this. If anybody who's listened to me talk about loot crates before knows my stance on this. And my stance on loot crates is, I don't give a shit. I honestly do not care about loot crates. I know in Europe they're trying to pass legislation that would make them equivalent to gambling. I can't remember what countries. I think it's somewhere in the UK. I believe it was a British MP, and I want to say somewhere in Southern Europe. I can't remember exactly where. They're trying to bring up legislation that would make loot boxes gambling, which I fundamentally disagree with. I don't think loot boxes are gambling. In the sense, they're technically gambling, as in it's a game of chance, but at the same time, it's not. It's not gambling in a more traditional sense. It's not we're gonna play a game. I'm going to put this up, and you're going to put that up, and winner takes all. It's not that sort of thing. It's here's this item provided by the game. Whoever wins gets it. Games have kind of been doing that for a long time with item drops, and I just don't feel right calling loot boxes gambling. You can question loot boxes, pay to win, all that. And I have a problem when progression in a game is tied to loot boxes, kind of like what Battlefront 2 was. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was doing. It made the game unbalanced as hell because But on the other hand, when you had to buy loot boxes for like Shadow of War, a lot of people had problems with that. While me, I just didn't care because honestly, Shadow of War shouldn't have had multiplayer in the first place. But that's neither here nor there. It's just that's the only time that I really have an issue with loot boxes, and I don't understand why we're seeing legislation pushed to fight loot boxes. Even in this sense, I mean, right there, they said it's no gameplay whatever. It's cosmetic items only, and people, and I know people who'd still have a problem with this. And I guess I don't like my comment being I don't understand something, but I really don't understand the frustration people have when it's purely cosmetic. Why do people have such an issue with buying this stuff? It's just I hear people, it's people are spending money on stuff that it's just a money grab for developers, and it's just, if people keep buying it, developers are going to keep doing it. And I sit here and go, as is a developer's right to do it, and of course the developer's trying to make money. What do you think they're doing? Developers trying to get as much money off of off of a title as humanly possible. I mean, that's why we see so much franchise. That's why we see so many franchises. That's why, I mean, hell, look in movies. How many truly original films do we see that's not based off of a book or based off of a existing franchise? I'm not saying they don't happen, because I mean they do happen, but even then, I mean, how many of them are even truly original? I mean, you can dive back and take their stories that they're very similar to other things. Like I saw a trailer for what was it? I want to say it's like Deep Blue or something like that. It's a movie about sharks. There was a sequel. I saw the trailer and I'm like, this is Jaws. Which Jaws was it? The one that they were in the aquarium. It was that Jaws film. That was all it was. That's my thing with it. It's just developers and people who make movies, all this stuff, they're in it to make money, because it's the intersection between art and capitalism. There's going to be some level of it, so it doesn't bother me. I'll get back onto the main point. Loot boxes don't bother me, and I understand the frustration with stuff like day one DLC and stuff like that, but even then, it still doesn't bother me, because I think devs are well within their right to do it. So that's always been my stance on loot boxes. And people who go crazy about what Ubisoft is doing right now, granted, Ubisoft has had things in the past where they've gone a little too far and they've ended up making really bad choices with that kind of stuff. But still, I don't think this is excuse me. I don't think this is that. Moving on, though, is we still have some more loot box information. We have words. A Washington State Gambling Commission to consider new bill on loot box controversy. Article, again, Shabana Arif, IGN. Article reads, following several governmental inquiries into whether gaming loot boxes can constitute gaming, a Washington state senator is now pushing for a bill to regulate their use. GameIndustries.biz reports that the Democratic state senator for Orcas Island, Kevin Ranker, has stated that, and I quote, "It is unacceptable to be targeting our children with predatory gambling masked in a game with dancing bunnies or something," end quote. Fuck! God damn it. It's not targeting our children. I hate this argument. This is what Jack Thompson did in the late 90s, early 2000s, post-Columbine. It's targeting our children. Gaming is a much wider industry than that, first of all, and I know I'm preaching to the choir. If I don't rant, sometimes when I go into these rants, if I don't do it, my head will explode. But I hate this argument of, well, think it's Helen Lovejoy from The Simpsons. You know that meme, when someone think of the children. I can't stand this argument. And plus, a game is technically gambling. If that makes sense, you're always playing for something. Be it just the good feeling of winning, a championship, this, that. Gaming and gambling are technically, if you stretch everything, you can make a case that they're the same thing, which that is what I think this loot box thing is doing. I think they're stretching the terms of what a loot box is to include gambling. I think they're stretching the definitions. Let's see here. Dancing bunny boxes aside, something I think we'd all pay good money for. Ranker has interest. God damn. Something I think we'd all pay. Okay. I understand the what they're doing, what the person's saying there. It's a joke. Ranker has introduced a bill that proposes to define whether or not loot boxes and related mechanics in games constitute gambling. The bill sets out to address a few major areas for consideration, namely whether loot box mechanics in games and apps constitute gambling under the state's law, whether such things should be present in apps and games, and whether or not minors should have access to games and apps that contain loot boxes and related features. There we have another massive problem with me. A massive thing that I have a problem with. The whole, well, minors and all this can't get these games. It's like a 16-year-old can't buy an M-rated video game anymore. What the hell? It's complete bullshit. And look, I understand you go into a GameStop and you have to show ID for an M-rated game. I still have to do it, and I'm 24. Well, I'm going to be 24, whatever. But that's a company policy. That's not a government policy, because I think a lot of people always think the ESRB is a government-funded organization. Like, they get funding from the government to provide the ratings for games, but there is no actual enforcement. It's just like an R-rated film, like an R-rated movie. Technically, a movie theater doesn't have to check your ID by law, as far as I know. If I'm incorrect and misunderstand the law, somebody correct me. But as far as I can tell in the law, you are not required to check the ID. They do it because it's a company policy. Most of them do. But that's just like most brick and mortar game stores do for M-rated video games. But the whole thing but now we're going to start policing PSN and the Xbox store and all this stuff, because now if I buy an M-rated game on those sites, now I have to prove my age. And it's bullcrap. This sounds like I'm trying to say, let's let 10-year-olds play Grand Theft Auto. I'm not necessarily saying that. I think it's up to the parents. Parents, watch your freaking kids. I've always said that. That's always been, my parents knew what I was playing. My parents kept an eye out on me. I know, it's a shocker, but I have a big issue when you start saying that who should have access to what games. Games are art. The Supreme Court ruled on that one. I have issues when government tries to put their hand in stuff like this. If I've never stated this on the channel, my government policy. I'm a states' rights guy. I'm very much the individual. I think the federal government should have very little power on stuff that's, I think the only things I've said that I think the federal government, the three big things are taxes, immigration, and the military. And most other stuff, like pot and prostitution and a lot of other things, I think should be handled on the state level. Now, something like this is more of a federal issue, I would say, because if one state can do this, then now a whole bunch of states can start using it as precedent. I'm sorry, I'm getting really technical with law and stuff, even though I don't fully understand the law. I'm not a lawyer or anything, so again, anything I say, always feel free to check me on. But I have an issue when a state decides to put its hand in art, because in my opinion, art is freedom of expression, freedom of speech. There is no, yes, you can't do, there is no hand that the government can come in and say, you can't do this. I don't like that. I think it flies in the face of what we're doing. It's why I'm not a big fan of the FCC and radio. I do some stuff on radio, and I don't like the FCC. I like how Sirius Radio can avoid the FCC, but I have a big problem with them. It's, again, this is all personal opinions. Jeez, I'm sorry. I went on a massive rant there that probably made no sense. I hopefully you can follow my train of logic. Kind of wrapping back into the main topic here of not allowing people to have access excuse me, to games and apps that have these related features. Well, does that mean because if he's just proposing this in Washington, does that mean people in Washington now can't play PUBG? Does this work retroactively? Does this affect everything that's already come out? Does that mean they can't play PUBG? Or can they play PUBG, but these certain aspects have to be these certain parts of the game can't be accessed in this state, or hell, let's take another popular Overwatch. I think Fortnite probably has it. I haven't played Fortnite, but Fortnite probably has loot boxes. So many games have loot boxes. Again, I mentioned Battlefront 2. Does that mean people in Washington, if this law passes, minors can't get access to this? You have to prove that you're 18. It's not even a prove you're 18 to buy the game. It is a prove you're 18 to play the game. I have so many issues with this. It's just, how will it be done without infringing on people's freedoms? How will this be done without infringing on the rights of the developers? How can you do this with even the plethora of content that's already released? That is my big question. Let's get back into the article, because I've ranted and I'm tired now. Perhaps most importantly, it will also encompass the, and I quote, lack of disclosure and transparency with respect to the odds of receiving each type of virtual item. End quote. Again, I think they're trying to make this as like a slot machine, which, again, you got to stretch your definitions. All right. New Zealand's gambling regulator has already weighed in on the issue, determining that loot boxes are not gambling. Conversely, Belgium's gaming commission is aiming to ban them in Europe. Boom! Like I said, I wasn't entirely wrong. It was other things in Europe. I thought it was Southern Europe. No, it was New Zealand. It's south of Europe. And Belgium's not Southern Europe. Whatever. I know the UK is trying to do something with this. I guess if Belgium's trying to do something, they're not trying to just do it in Belgium. Is Belgium part of the EU? I'm not entirely sure, but I guess that they're trying to do something with the EU then. Let's see here. Meanwhile, a Hawaii state representative wants to limit the sale of games with loot boxes after Star Wars Battlefront 2 caused considerable controversy with its pay-to-win approach in a $60 game. Okay, again, this is stuff that the government shouldn't be involved in. This is business. This is not a government issue. This is a business selling something, and someone... I don't want to say use the term. I use the term contract in its loosest sense. It's an agreement between the people who sold the game, saying that, because we all knew that loot boxes were going to be a big part of Battlefront 2. We knew it was going to be a big part of Battlefront 2 and its progression. That it was very clear from even when you played the beta. So. You can't say people went into this not knowing. People went into it knowing. It's an M-rated game. To purchase it again, you have to show ID at most brick-and-mortar stores. Again, I'm going to say it again, not a legal thing. It's company policy at most, or at least GameStop, and they're probably the biggest brick-and-mortar chain. And on the PSN, on like PSN and Xbox Live, there are parental controls. I just don't use them because I own my own consoles. I have a problem with, because this just to me feels like it's a government overreach into an area that they have no business being in. That's how I see all this. I think that's how I can ramp all this down. Let's see here. Ranker wants to see games and apps containing such microtransactions disclosed the odds of rare items dropping before consumers hand over their cash, similar to Apple's revised guidelines for iOS developers. And I quote, if parents realized how predatory these games are, then they wouldn't want them under their Christmas tree. They wouldn't want them going to their kids, end quote, Ranker said. The deadline for the deadline for a decision on the bill is December 1st, 2018. My question is, how is this predatory? How is it predatory? Or you know what? Let's I'm gonna propose another kind of concept. Somebody answer me this: if anybody out there plays trading card games, like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, you play TCGs. Do they tell you how likely you are to get a certain rare card when you open up a random pack? Isn't it a similar situation? I could be reaching. Somebody tell me if I am. But as far as I can tell, they're very similar things. It's a game of chance. Isn't that what loot boxes are? Are they mad that people are spending money to buy a loot box? Or are they mad that loot boxes can be earned by winning a game? It seems like we're taking the definition of gambling and stretching it to try and encompass these things. And again, I think this has just been in this long attempt of the government to get their hands in video games. I also don't think this has anything to do with the children. I've always said this, I don't trust politicians as far as I can throw them, but my guess is that this is how to put it. This is what I think Clinton did when she tried to jump on with Jack Thompson way back when she was it? Yeah, it was Clinton. Yeah, it was Hillary Clinton when she was, can't remember her position in the government at that time, but she tried to jump on with Jack Thompson and get video games, at least in Florida, messed with until it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided it's video game, that video games are art. It's just, this is a thing that I think politicians are trying to jump on, to look at the older generations and say, look what we were able to do, while the younger generations like us, or I say like us, I don't know how old you are watching this, or even if you're still watching me rant, but while the younger generation is looking at this going, this is really stupid. Why? All right. Moving on before I have an aneurysm. All right. Devs say games sell as well or better on Nintendo Switch than other platforms. Article Seth G. Macy, IGN. Excuse me. According to the State of the Game Industry report put out by the Game Developers Conference, Switch's powerful console sales are helping software sales too. The majority of respondents to the question, and I quote, have Switch game sales compared to the average across the platforms you've launched on, answered sales have been average or greater than average, with only 16% saying sales were less than average. Developers are also, and I quote, overwhelmingly confident, end quote, the Switch is going to outpace Wii U's lifetime sales. Duh. Last year, 58% of respondents believed the Switch would surpass Wii U's performance, and this year that number jumped to 73%. Nintendo Switch has surpassed Wii U's lifetime sales already in Japan, so it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point. Yeah, no shit. In fact, Nintendo Switch is the fastest-selling console in history, according to numbers from analysts at the NPD Group. Switch had a great December, selling 1.5 million units in the U.S. over the 5-week period, making Nintendo Switch the top-selling console for December 2017. The rise in interest for the Nintendo Switch among game developers is in contrast to a decline from the same group for interest in virtual reality. Last year, 24% of respondents said they're working on a VR game, while this year the number has dwindled to 17%. Well, I think there's reasons for that. I think it's because while VR is popular, and I think VR is very interesting, I've played on VR, and I have to say I like what they're doing, especially the PSVR. I think I played Super Hot, and it was really fun. I think the Switch is more accessible because it's a lower barrier to entry cost-wise. You don't need the massive space that you need to play a VR game. You don't need all the equipment. It's just VR, there's a lot more stuff to buy. While Switch, I think, is, maybe half the price? Probably less. Mix that with the fact that I think that the Nintendo Switch is doing something with this hybrid handheld home console system. It's really not either, but it's kind of both. Which, honestly, I like my Switch. I like the new Zelda. I like the new Xenoblade. I'll be playing the new Valkyria Chronicles when it comes out on Switch. I really like what the Switch is doing. Would I replace my home consoles with it? Hell no. Would I play a game like Doom or Wolfenstein or whatever? I mentioned those because those have also come over to Switch. Would I play them on Switch first? Probably not. Would I get them for Switch? Maybe. I think the Switch is a very interesting system. I am curious to see what Switch is going to do long term, and I don't mean long term as in 2 years later, because I think the Switch is going to be hot for a couple of years. I mean, I'm talking 4 or 5 years down the road. Like, how is Switch going to continue? How long is the life of the Switch? Is going to be my question. Is how long is this going to be more of a flash in the pan, or is this going to be really big for a while? But I think Nintendo's doing all the right things. I think they're reaching out for the first time, really going to third-party developers, which I really like. I've said this before. I wish they'd reach out to Sony and get a Persona game on the Switch. I mean, they did it with with Persona 4 Golden coming to the Vita. I'd love Persona, like a handheld Persona 5 on my Switch. I would buy that. I don't care what the price. I would pay another $60 for another Persona 5 on my Switch. I would buy the shit out of that game. Again, like I mentioned, Valkyria Chronicles. I think what I'd like to see less of, though, is less action games on the Switch and more reach out to more Japanese developers and try and get ports of old JRPGs. You know, maybe some older Final Fantasies, maybe some Dragon Quests, some stuff like that. But again, that's my personal opinion because I like turn-based RPGs personally. I mean, hell, try and get the original Valkyria Chronicles. I think go to Atlas and talk to them about Catherine. I think that would be a great fit on the Switch. I think there are tons of games that really would work on the Switch that I wonder if Nintendo would reach out to some of these developers and try and get on their platform. And that I think is the biggest thing that Switch has done, is reaching out to these third-party developers. I mean, hell, we're going to see we've already seen Darkest Dungeon. We're seeing Dark Souls come to it. We've seen Doom and Wolfenstein. Really, I think the possibilities for the Switch are broader than they are for VR at the moment. I think that's the explanation of why the Switch has outpaced VR and why expectations that the Switch is going to do better than it, you look at the numbers that I mentioned in the article are so obvious. Again, this is all my opinion, and obviously it's going to surpass the Wii U. The Wii U, I was worried for Nintendo after the Wii U came out. After what happened to the Wii U, I thought I was worried for what Nintendo was going to do, and I'm really glad they came back with the Switch. That's where I'll go. Excuse me. Now moving on to everybody's favorite developer, BioWare. BioWare reportedly focusing majority of team on Anthem for early 2019 release. Article Chloe Rad IGN. BioWare is reportedly focusing the majority of its team from both the Edmonton and Austin studios into the upcoming game Anthem, an online open-world multiplayer action RPG announced for E3 2017. For the love of God, I hate the fact that they're doing this. And if you want to know why, it's just stuff like this in the Division. I'm waiting for. I feel like they're going to people are going to saturate the market to an unbelievable amount. And how to put it? It's maybe it's also a little selfish because I know there are people who like games like this. I've seen I've seen Anthem and it intrigues me, but I have a feeling that it won't be what we're promised. I'm looking at BioWare a little bit more skeptically than I used to, especially after what happened to Andromeda. I still stand by it. Was not as bad as everybody said it was. It still was a letdown. Because personally, I mean, I've said this when Ubisoft announced Skull and Bones. I was really sad when they announced that because I've said this before. I like single player games. I like single player experiences. I don't like any of you interfering with my game. No, but I'd rather BioWare focus in on their next Dragon Age project as opposed to this. But again, I know, again, selfish reasons because it's what I want, not what I think is other people want. And BioWare's done plenty of games for me. I think, yes, they can do stuff for other people. I'm speaking entirely from my perspective. And also, we're going to be talking some Dragon Age in the next article. But either way, in this one, according to a report from Kotaku, sources close to Anthem place its release date closer to early 2019, citing the fall 2018 release window fall 2018 release window as unrealistic. Pressure to launch before the end of EA's 2019 fiscal year makes a delay beyond March 2019 less likely. Sources told Kotaku IGN has reached out to EA for further comment. Okay. That is really dangerous, BioWare. Extremely dangerous. Especially after what came out with Mass Effect Andromeda. With the fact that you pushed, most of the development, I think the last 6 months were pushed into that game. And again, people slaughtered you for it. This is a horrible decision to try and rush and make unrealistic release windows. I think they should have put more. I think they should have said, hey, we're working on this game. They should have taken the CD Projekt Red route, which is, hey, we're working on this game. We're going to show you bits and pieces here and there. but we're still working on this game. We're not going to tell you when it's coming. Or the Days Gone approach. As much as that pisses me off, and I still put in money that Days Gone is going to come out by the end of this year. I just think that I think that is a bad move for BioWare, in my opinion. Excuse me. Over half a dozen people close to Anthem spoke to Kotaku about the pressure surrounding the project, which has allegedly been in development since 2012. Okay. According to Kotaku sources, recent industry controversies, notably the backlash from Star Wars Battlefront 2's loot box progression system and Bungie's overhaul of its 2018 plans to address negative feedback from the Destiny 2 community, has placed pressure squarely on the Anthem team to produce something great. Wait, what? These developers aren't the... Okay, whatever. But despite the team's anxieties generated in part from BioWare's own recent controversies, including Mass Effect and Andromeda, and the often toxic community backlash, there's optimism too. See, I don't like the term toxic community backlash, because I think the backlash from the community was well warranted. Especially when they came out, I can't remember. Was it Soderlund? I think it was EA Soderlund that came out and said that people are being too harsh on the game, which again I think is kind of true. But at the same time, coming from the head of a studio, or not, granted he's EA and not BioWare, but again, coming out, that's kind of like putting the blame on the fans. It's kind of like saying, oh, well, we made this great piece of art, it's your fault for not understanding it. That's a really bad, that's like giving the finger to your fans. Don't do that kind of stuff. It's just saying the toxic community, there's something about that I just doesn't sit right in my stomach. But I think pushing this game is a good idea, especially if you're willing to say fall 2018 was too unrealistic, but now you're trying to rush to get it by the end of your fiscal year. Again, a really bad move in my opinion. I don't think BioWare right now wants to put out the words that they are trying to rush. Again, I'm going to keep saying it, especially after what happened with Andromeda. Just saying. Moving on to more BioWare news at the page load. Shabana RFIGN, next Dragon Age will be a live game. Article reads, BioWare's Casey Hudson has said that the in-development Dragon Age game will be a live experience, which, and I quote, means designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story, end quote. Speaking on Twitter, Hudson confirmed that the game will remain, and I quote, story and character focused, end quote, but adding the idea of it being live afterwards. Reading lots of feedback regarding Dragon Age, and I think you'll be relieved to see what the team is working on, story and character focus. Too early to talk details, but when we talk about it live, it just means designing a game for continued storytelling after the main story. Casey Hudson, January 25th, 2018. See, my question is, what do you mean by continued storytelling? I mean, you're giving a concept, because I think when you say live game, people would start to think it's going to be something like The Division or Anthem or what have you. But now I'm actually starting to think, is it kind of going to be like those? Where we're going to have the main player story, but then like a central hub where we bring our character in and talk to other people's characters, and kind of what the multiplayer of Dragon Age Inquisition, I don't know, I was trying to say Dragon Age Origins, that's not right. Dragon Age Inquisition tried to do. I'm not sure. I still have misgivings about that, the use of the word live, but all in all, I really want this to do well, because I like Dragon Age. I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna be honest with that. We've known for a while that there's a new Dragon Age game in development over at BioWare. Writer Alexis Kennedy confirmed the news last year, but BioWare declined to offer more details at the time. Executive producer Mark Dura reignited the conversation today with a tweet that reminded everyone that the developer is beavering away on both Anthem and the Dragon Age series, saying that, and I quote, there are people hard at work on both franchises, end quote. And see, there's the other thing. I don't want to say that BioWare isn't a big enough company that they can work on these multiple projects, but how to put it, I don't want to say it's like, I don't want to compare it to what Ubisoft does with Assassin's Creed. because it's a little different because all those Assassin's Creed games are in the same franchise. Honestly, I would say Ubisoft is a massive studio for what it is. I think Ubisoft is a massive studio to release the games, the amount of games that it does. And if you ask me, the quality, I know a lot of people have problems with Ubisoft, especially with what they did with Assassin's Creed for a while. I personally like the franchises, but I think Origins redeemed themselves. But again, that's also, I think, Ashoff had a big part in that. I lost my train of thought. Oh, right, comparing these two. I don't think focusing on... I don't think doing these multiple big projects is a good plan for BioWare, especially in the climate that they're under right now, or the scrutiny that they're under right now. I think that's a better word. I don't think focusing on something like Anthem, which if they do what they say they're going to do, is extremely ambitious, and then something like Dragon Age, which still requires a lot of work. It's a big, in-depth RPG. I just don't think it's a good plan to do both of them at once. Fans of BioWare get their fix of single-player open-world storytelling through games like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, so it'll be interesting to see whether Hudson is referring to the standard fare of DLC and expansions, or whether we can expect some form of shared world experience in the vein of Anthem. Either way, a reminder that a new Dragon Age is being developed somewhere is always comforting to know. Again, I have misgivings. I have misgivings about it. The experience the shared world experience of Anthem is what I think they're referring to, and that really gets me to go because I think games are being shoehorned. They're trying to take existing franchises like Dragon Age and trying to shoehorn it into these shared experiences. I don't think it works for this kind of game. Hopefully they're talking their kind of usual DLC expansions, but hell, we were promised that for Mass Effect, and I'm still a little salty about that. I'm still pretty PO'd that we didn't get expansions for Andromeda, that they didn't even try to do something. It really pisses me off personally, and hell, I'll even keep going on this one. It pisses me off a little bit that they're just deciding to drop Andromeda and not going to do another one in the Andromeda kind of arc, because there was more story there. Once you finished Andromeda, there's more story, but you're just going to leave it because, people were mad, and if we make another... No, try and redeem yourselves with another one. That's my opinion. All right, moving on. We got another... If things will load, I got so much running right now. We got another video that we're gonna watch. This is something else from IGN, one of their IGN firsts. We have 14 minutes of Code Vein. We really haven't had a lot of news out of this game for a while. It's I don't want to say it's Dark Souls-esque, but it's an interesting game with vampires and bunches. Go back, check some of my earlier stuff. I haven't talked about this game in a while and haven't read much on it, but it's a game that's really kind of piqued my interest. So we're going to watch these 14 minutes, and then I'm going to take another quick break.
This should help.
I will say, I do kind of get a Dark Souls vibe.
I see the Lost over there. What could that be? There you go.
hell is she shooting at?
Don't get surrounded. Now! I'll handle this. Go heal.
Yeah, I'll keep saying that. I really get a Dark Souls vibe out of this. Maybe I'm just, I don't know.
That wasn't bad at all.
I'm curious about this because I'm not a big Dark Souls fan. I'm just curious to see what all this game has to offer. Like, what are these powers that they're? I mean, I understand something with blood and vampires and whatnot, but the specific power that you just use, what does it do? I kind of wish there was like a developer narration over this so we can get an explanation of things.
Marvelous. That took some effort. There you go. We'll put that to good use.
Okay, why are they doubling back? Yeah, I'm gonna keep saying this.
Way over there.
I'm definitely getting a Dark Souls vibe out of this. Not just in the combat style. Although I do like the partner aspect, and I like the visual style. I mean, it's very JRPG. Very, yeah, I like the visual style. I like the idea of the partner.
Good use.
But again, I do have a lot of questions. How much, for one, how much control do you have over the partner? Is it one of those that you have, you know, almost none, or
This should help.
you know, are they pretty much just autonomous, or do you have some control over them? Do you have this, that, the other thing? It's always my question with action RPGs like this. But from what I'm getting, it's going to be kind of like a what your partner did in Nier Automata.
You're good.
Where they act pretty much autonomously. There's the word.
You have, right?
I bit the side of my mouth. It hurt.
There you go.
That was cool.
Marvelous. fork in the road.
Now that is Dark Souls to a T right there. You turn the corner and there's the enemy ready to kick your ass.
Marvelous. The enemy's under us.
Yeah, clearly waiting for them to come into sight so you can do another drop attack.
We'll put that to good use. They don't look very appetizing.
I was about to say they missed a chest.
I'm sorry. Damn it.
Alright, here's my question. How does death work in this game? Very strong attack, charge attack, launch attack.
Morning, sunshine.
Yeah, this is almost literally a JRPG version of Dark Souls.
There you go. Don't mix around.
It's a little disappointing to me, just because I'm not a big Dark Souls fan, but I'll still probably play it. I'll keep harping on it though. I really like the visual style. I like the style. Is similar to what they used in All right, come on, Brain. Persona 5. See, I'm wondering what that bar about, because obviously the red bar with the 712 out of 712 is health. The one above that is stamina. My question is, what is that small one right above it? What does that do? Because if you look at the companion, I think her name's Mia. It won't stay on screen long enough for me to read. Yeah, Mia. She's got something like that, too, over her health bar. I want to know what it is. See, that bar is doing something again. I just need what to do.
Over your head.
I'm sorry, I'm harping on something that probably is totally irrelevant. See, you shouldn't have, he kept dodging. You should have taken a swing at that dude, trying to get rid of him, and then focus on the big guy. Now I'm just making useless comments. Although, again, watch this channel long enough, that's about all the comments I make. Isn't that a chest? Thank you. And another thing, it works almost exactly like the campfires.
Stay on guard.
Oh, that's cool. Alright, there's a little bit of a look at Code Vein. Like I said, I see a lot of Dark Souls in there. I mean, I think that's by design. I'm pretty sure that it is a Dark Souls-esque game. But I like the visual style. It's piqued my interest. I'm just curious to see what it's going... I don't know. I'm curious to see how it plays. I'll probably play it when it comes out. Trying to think anything else. We still got a couple more stories. One more block of articles. We'll get to. I'm gonna get up, use the bathroom, stretch my legs a little bit. I've been sitting in this chair for a while. I gotta do it, or else I get antsy sitting still for too long. So I hope you're enjoying this, and I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, we're into our final block of articles. Twisted Metal creator David Jaffe's latest project canceled. Major layoffs affect studio. Article set you may see IGN. Give me a second. I got up and stretched. Now, there we go. I had to stretch my shoulders a little bit. Man. Alright, like I said, set you may see IGN, something about David Jaffe. David Jaffe's Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency, that's a title. Game Studios suffered a huge blow today, suffering the cancellation of one of its major projects. The news was broken by studio head David Jaffe on his personal Twitter. Jaffe said, and I quote, "The vast majority of the studio's game division are," I guess not, and I quote, whatever, "of the studio's game division are being let go following the cancellation. Jaffe promised more news is forthcoming. Bartlett Jones was responsible for Drawn to Death, the free-to-play arena shooter that took its visual inspiration from the frenzied doodles of a high school student's notebook. While the game was visually and conceptually interesting, and Jaffe is no stranger to competitive games, it failed to excite critics or gamers. In our Drawn to Death review, we said, with its unique look, the game could have hit the ground running. The story is developing. We'll update, blah, 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 blah." I agree with that. Drawn to Death was really interesting. David Jaffe games don't connect with me for kind of the same reason. Give me a second. Okay, yeah, I had to check something. I thought David Jaffe was one of the directors for God of War, and that director of God of War. That makes total sense for what I'm about to say. For me, David Jaffe's games have always kind of been the. It has always kind of been it's coming out of the mind of a 14-year-old boy. Nothing wrong with that. The games he makes are good. They just don't connect with me on an emotional level, but I think he still makes good titles, and I think he's a big name in the industry. I question if this is going to be the end of David Jaffe or this is going to be the end of his studio, but it kind of makes me ask the question if this is going to maybe make David Jaffe's approach or maybe his titles or whatever. I don't want to say grow up and mature, because that sounds like I'm really bashing on him. I'm not trying to do that. I think he's very good at what he does. I mean, Drawn to Death, I mean, you look at that thing, I think he has his own unique style, but I think that the style, how to put it, that style isn't enough anymore. I think he has to take another step. I think he has to take the next step in his path along as a director and studio head, developer, whatever you want to position you want to give him. I think he has to take that next step, and I think this is kind of a minor stumbling block, because I don't think knowing David Jaffe's history, I don't think he's done. But I do, like I said, I think this is kind of like him getting ready for his next step in his career. So I think I don't think this is the end of him. Again, this is all personal opinion. God, I got someone loading on this freaking page right now. Moving on. PUBG's new anti-cheat measures and latest update are rolling out on PC. Article Shabana Arif, IGN. PUBG has a problem with cheaters. We all know it. We even encountered one in our live stream, but anti-cheat measures are being implemented to stamp out this behavior and ban players who are spoiling the fun for the rest of us. The current test build of the game will be moving to the live servers on PC, according to a tweet from the official PUBG account. PUBG account, and a lengthier update over on Steam details the new security measures are a part of this patch. And I quote from a tweet: PC players, we will be moving the current test build to our live servers on January 24th, 6 p.m. PST, January 25th, 3 a.m. CET, 11 a.m. KST. The maintenance is expected to last for 2 hours. Play Battlegrounds, but January 24th, 2018. The Steam post reads, we will also be testing a new security anti-cheat measure that is still under development, but we want to try gathering some data regarding its stability and compatibility, end quote. Over on the test servers, there we go. The new anti-cheat measure may have caused some PCs to crash due to compatibility issues during the test, but presumably this has been fixed for the rollout, as the update stated that once the, and I quote, changes on the test servers are evaluated to be stable, they will be applied to the live servers, end quote. So far, over 100,000 players have been permanently banned from the game as consequences of cheating. Other changes in the update include adding multiple pre-match starting locations to improve server and game client performance, general bug fixes, and the addition of Russian, Japanese, and Chinese fonts. I really like PUBG. I think I've said this before. I think it's a great game. I include this story because I don't have much to say on it, but I know people love it and people are big into PC games, and anti-cheat thing is a big thing on PC. So I don't really have much to say about that. I just wish all I will say is I wish I had better internet so I could play PUBG. It just my internet's not fast enough to run it. It runs slow. It makes me sad. All right, moving on to our. I don't know why this is a. Alrighty then. All right, I just had to make a quick check, make sure I didn't forget to load up an article. Nope, I was dumb and left a open IGN tab there. Whatever. Persona developer could be making a PS4 high-end action game. Article Shabana R of IGN. Atlas fans rejoice. It looks like the Japanese developer of PlayStation 5, Persona 5, what the fuck, is brewing something new for PlayStation 4. Spotted by Gamatsu, a job advert titled, and I quote, 2D concept design, key animation talents, PS4 high-end action game, end quote, appeared posting by a long-standing consumer game maker famous for its unique goddess, Megami, and demon RPGs. After a lot of chin rubbing and thoughtful mustache twirling, gotta hand it to her. I like the writing. Twirling. The consensus is that it's Atlas. If you want more proof, Setagaya is listed as the location, which happens to be where Atlas office is based. Shortly after the story, we picked up that ad was removed, along with a second one for a UI designer. The job listing mentions the game is a newly under development PlayStation 4 project, which implies that it's not the in development Catherine Full Body, which would be more likely described as a puzzle or adventure game anyways. I agree with that. I think just the title of the game would make it obvious that it is not the Catherine remake. No way in hell. The Catherine remake will be coming to the West for PlayStation 4 and PS Vita. It's being developed by Atlas' new internal dev team, Studio Zero, and will include a third love interest for the hapless Vincent. Let's hope she doesn't leave him looking too sheepish. That's funny. I still stand by. I think her name is Rin. I still put money that I agree with the theories. She's going to be an angel. I think it makes sense. Because, we have the devil, human, angel thing. Whatever. I think it'll work. Whatever. Whatever this turns out to be, the company's bread and butter is RPGs, so it'll be interesting to see how the mysterious action-oriented title develops. Maybe... Isn't Atlas also working on Project RE Fantasy? Whatever the hell the title is. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Aren't they also working on that? I remember that game being talked about a while ago and just haven't heard much about it since. So it might be that project. Again, this is entirely speculation. Holy shit, it got dark in my room. I've been doing this for, my record time's over 2 hours. So yeah, that's my guess. I'd guess it's either their new project, that project that we've been hearing about. I think it's Ray Fantasy, whatever. I think that's what this is going to be, what they're working on, but I could be totally wrong. I could be pulling something out of my ass. I don't know. But there you go, guys. There has been the weekly show. I'll say this now because I tried to keep the intro shorter this week just so I could get right into the news. But if you enjoyed any of the articles I read, please follow the links that are down in the descriptions to any of these articles. I strongly suggest that you go and support these sites, give them clicks, give the writers all the reads and whatnot. These are the people who do the real work. They are the people who go out, get the stories, and write them. I am just some scrub who sits here, reads articles, and gives my opinions on articles and tries to interpret them with you guys. That is what I do. These guys are the true people who do the majority of the legwork, or all the legwork, I guess I should say. And please go and support these websites. Granted, I just use IGN for this one, but anytime, please follow the links in the description below. Thank you for watching, everybody. I will see you again next week, or if you go check out one of my Let's Plays, I'll see you then. So thanks for watching. Facebook, Twitter, the website, minds.com. Links to that stuff is in the description below. That's all my social media. Great ways to get a hold of me. As of the comments down below, I will always do my best to answer in a timely manner. Right now, my notifications on YouTube are being weird and won't tell me when I have a new comment. So it's weird, but whatever. I'll answer as soon as I see it. Other than that, hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Thank you so much for watching, everybody, and until next time, I'm AJ Gels. This is the Untitled Gaming Channel. I'm out.